I've done a lot of different things. I started out in investment banking and, went to Wheaton College, and worked in tax work and, education. We moved to Georgia. I ended up in education, worked with kids with special needs.
Right.
And then 2020, and what brought me, we live in the city now because I had a spine injury and don't drive,
Mm.
which positioned me perfectly for being down here.
Right.
The steal happened, going to stop the steal, and now going to the Capitol. You know,
Yes.
had I not had a spine injury, I mean, I was international level swimming official, NC2A championships, Riley Gaines. My
Mm.
injury happened a year before Riley Gaines' incident. It could have been me, the starter, and the command would have been step down, ladies.
Wow.
But God had a plan, just like he had a plan, with Israel 2000 years ago. The diaspora happened for a
Mm-hmm.
purpose.
Right.
What do we do? It's to keep our eyes on the Lord as to how he calls us and to moves us forward.
Right.
Currently now I am a media consultant.
Okay.
It's not what I studied to be, but I bring together advertisers and independent media personalities, and that's what positions me. You know, um, I was at the Capitol, 2020, watching the Senate hearing.
Right.
I was at the Capitol 2022, sine die. I was having, spent the dinner hour with Burt Jones, Brandon Beach, and Greg Dolezal, worked the ropes on election integrity, and, was asking the question, yes, do you support election integrity? Yes, yes, they all did. And I said, well, how are you going to get on the floor?
Mm-hmm.
Then they looked at me like, oh, she's kind of asking the right question. Well, midnight happened, and Jeff Duncan's, final dastardly deed that defined his career was not a call for the vote in terms of voting on the actual legislation where everyone would be on record, but a parliamentary measure. And you had to know that the correct vote was no. And the only reason that I knew that was that, Neil Biding, Butch Miller's chief of staff or whatever, sent me the picture of the scoreboard because I had left just before midnight. And then, talking with legislators after midnight, you know, several didn't vote,
Hmm.
several voted yes. So that was a defining moment that's like, what is going on? They were all in favor of election integrity, at 6 o'clock before the dinner hour.
Right.
But then you have to have a picture of the scoreboard. And even still, a month ago, a legislator sent me a picture of that scoreboard who's running for office and said, do you remember this?
Mm.
Tell me. And I'm like, why are they sending that to me that now? Is it trying to remind me of who they were at that point and that they're still that person, even though that person has kind of disappeared for the last couple of years, won't talk to me?
Mm.
So there's just a lot of games that go on. But again, back to it. I'm an independent media consultant. I
Mm.
live in the city of Atlanta. I ran for office in 2024, not because it was my desire, but I was asked by the Fulton County Republican Party to run for a seat for which a Republican had not challenged in 40 years. Put your
Right.
name on the ballot. I did. I had met Misha Maynard when she was a Democrat in a committee meeting at the Capitol, had a lot of respect for her, and she also had encouraged me to run. And so that's kind of my story. I live in the city of Atlanta, Midtown, conservative. I'm a grandmother. I'm
Okay.
a dog mom, but I'm kind of a rare bird. But to my neighbors, I'm just somebody who has dogs,
Right.
and we have conversations.
Mm-hmm. And that's what the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
Conversations, and that's what we're missing so much in this nation right now. So thank you guys out there. So we did have a little bit of a vocal issue. I was cut. The sound was cut out for some reason, but we have it all fixed. And thank you guys in the comments for letting us know. Amanda, they could hear you, and I was like, "What? I don't know
Yeah.
what happened, but we fixed it, and we are loud and clear now." So obviously we can all go back and we're recording this tonight. So sorry about that, but everybody's here, and we got a good crowd here with us tonight. So why don't we get started? So our main goal tonight, and this is kind of an open discussion, is going to be the 2026 legislative session. We've all kind of been watching it. It feels like a whirlwind. Up here we have a jungle primary going on, so there's a lot of activity. We're actually, for the first time in the years that I've been working, we've got these senators and these candidates actually coming to us and speaking and say, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And that, to me, after going to the Capitol for about 3 years in a row and just kind of being laughed at and it's like stepped aside, it's like now, no. They want to have a conversation. So I feel like the tides are turning. And I don't know about you ladies, but I thought last year was like, whoa, if this is like normal for Georgia, we've got problems. And so I'm a little more optimistic this year. But we're about 1 week away from crossover. And so everybody, this is your time to take a pen, a piece of paper, and we're going to start with you, Julie, and just tell us a little bit about what you're looking at the Capitol as we get crossover. I believe, what was it, day before yesterday was the last day to turn in a bill, right?
Correct.
Okay, so kind of tell us what the playing field looks like.
So all the legislation is in the till.
Okay.
The key now is, what will the committee chairs allow to get to the floor?
Mm-hmm.
That's where all of our good legislation, that's where all of our hopes and dreams die,
right,
are in the committees and who the committee chairs are. So already you can see which bills have good prospects and which bills don't, based on the committees to which they were assigned.
Okay.
And I will start out, my focus this session is medical freedom. That's what took me to the Capitol, again, stop the steal, the election, all that kind of stuff. COVID happened, and that was a whole nother ball game. I had neighbors die. I live in a condo building, and mostly Democrats. And so I've had neighbors die of strokes. I had a neighbor die of amyloidosis, which typically takes 6 to 8 years for it to even develop, and was dead within 3 weeks of the diagnosis. Excuse me. So that's kind of taken me to the Capitol. And then this year, my story has evolved a little bit. My own daughter, brilliant, based on recommendations of her physician, she's immune challenged from her being vaccinated as a child. That woke me up. Her story, having taken, multiple COVID vaccines at the advice of her physician, is that she now has cancer.
Oh, wow.
Her children, excuse me, Amanda, take it. I've got a problem with my voice.
Amanda, so you tell what are you seeing out there it's getting?
Okay, so I'm really here just for commentary. Julie's been the main one keeping track,
right?
But I know that Julie had shared related to Maha, which I really care about too, as well as election integrity. They're both so important. But I think it was HB 1050, Julie, that is like a big medical freedom bill.
Yeah. So, okay, let's see if I can keep speaking.
All right.
HB 1350 is the Georgia Medical Freedom Act.
Yes.
And the Arizona legislature, the House, just passed it.
Oh, okay.
And going back to what I was saying about my own family, my daughter's 2 children, on advice of their pediatrician, are fully vaccinated, and they have autism. So this fight for me is very personal, because people are dying. And I've been at the Capitol for several sessions, bringing them the data for Fulton County, the 7 metro counties, ages 15 to 45, the excess mortality. Well, what happened to ages 15 to 45? Ask the question. So for 3 years, I've been pushing on legislators for data transparency. Hey, can we just get the Georgia Department of Public Health to look at the data, connect the vaccine records, depersonalized, de-identified? Don't we want to know why? Don't we want to know why? But that's a question that nobody seems to want to answer.
Sure.
And so finally, we do have a few key bills here. There's a national effort. 10 states already have dropped legislation, and major in it, I think, I'll get to a separate topic, but HB 1350, the Georgia Medical Freedom Act, a tandem bill. A sister bill is HB 1242. The Medical Freedom Act means that they'll never be able to mandate us, to take vaccines,
right,
for our jobs, et cetera. Again, HB 1242 takes away the authority from the Georgia Department of Public Health to do those mandates. The HB 1350 guarantees us our individual rights. That's the difference. One is the power versus what are our kind of inalienable rights. That is keystone legislation. SB1 happened in, I think it was 2023 during the pandemic, which gave us medical freedom from the COVID vaccine in our interactions with the state.
Okay.
But it did not give us our basic civil rights, my body, my choice for everyone in the state.
Yes.
And what's disgusting is it's only been within the last 6 months that Georgia, there were 16 major colleges and universities that still mandated the COVID vaccine for their students.
Wow.
5 of them were in the state of Georgia. 4 of them were HBCUs. Can you say Tuskegee?
Yeah, you're telling me that the colleges in Georgia still are mandating vaccines?
Not at this point. It's
Okay.
not. It's not allowed at this point.
Wow.
But at the same time, the last few were here in the state of Georgia.
course.
I was at the legislature holding, a sign,
Uh-huh.
and the Black Coalition, of voters was there, and they, we all of a sudden they swarmed to me, and it's just like it doesn't matter our color.
That's right.
Nothing matters. We all have inalienable rights, and we should not be mandated to inject or do anything without informed consent, full data transparency. What are we doing here? It's experimental.
100%. I mean,
Julie,
Go ahead.
can I ask you in regards to that bill, is that just does that apply to everyone or just state employees?
SB1 was only in interactions with the state. And Greg Dolezal, to his credit, did sponsor that bill, but I'll be perfectly honest. Before that bill was voted on, and while it was in session in committee, I begged Greg to modify the bill so that it gave all Georgians,
Same
medical
rights.
freedom. Whether you were
Right.
going to Georgia Tech or whether you were going to Wesleyan or Westminster or, whatever, can we not all be on the same page? But the fundamental thing we know in Georgia is that we are a corporate welfare state.
Yes.
And okay, the state will give us the pass, but we're not gonna take on Delta or Coke or UPS or any of our major, cause them any inconvenience or cause them to blink. And even now with data centers in Georgia Power, it's like, do we have to carve them out that they
What
get
about-
exceptions?
Right. What about 1350? Does that apply to everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I want to double check. And it matters a lot because when you think about healthcare workers, you have to have a lot of vaccines to work in a hospital. And there are, religious exemptions, medical, but sorry, it's really distracting because it's
I'm so
echoing on my
sorry.
end, so I'm trying to ignore it. But there's many the hospital ecosystem is huge, and there are so many workers, contracted workers, be it doctors groups or nurses, travel nurses, and students, medical students, nursing students. I mean, all kinds of disciplines that rotate through hospitals have students. And there's tons of contracted workers, including medical device sales. If you want to get better and newer technology into a hospital, that's how it's going to happen. And so all of these contracted workers, there's a loophole right now where by law, their employer will honor their rights. By law, they have to give religious and medical exemptions. But the hospital doesn't have to because it's not their employer. And so what happens is their employer will say, well, we'll honor that, but you have to do your job. And if you can't do your job, obviously you're going to be out of one. And the hospital says, well, we're requiring this for you to enter our facility. And so that's the catch-22.
Well, and a key
Yeah.
application of that is like if a nursing student in the university system, which is the state doesn't mandate it, but when they would go to do their practicum in the hospital mandated it, and that was that was what has been a problem for
Right.
particularly people in the students in the medical professions, that
Yeah.
University of Georgia, isn't mandating it, but for them to set foot on a hospital campus, they have to have that. And so how do you get your nursing degree?
Right. And this affects, I have family members affected by this. And our good friend Lisa, not on here tonight, but her daughter was affected. And, it's these people, they're signing informed consent, but it's not true informed consent. It's coercion because they don't actually want it. And then you also have to think about the financial component, that hospitals and universities get government funding.
Absolutely.
So anything that gets government funding should comply with all government laws and honor rights and all that stuff.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up, because that is a back door. And in this session, there's a bill called HB 522, which
Okay.
prevents organ transplant recipients from discrimination based on their vaccine status.
That's a good
And there was testimony in the Lee Hawkins, the chair of the health committee, allowed that bill to be heard. Joe Gullett is the primary sponsor, did a great job with it. They brought in Jane Doe. Jane Doe was the one who was a mother of 7, 40-ish years old, who a few years ago was in the situation that she needed an organ transplant and was denied. I became aware of it, and others as well. But I had a conversation with Congressman Rich McCormick at the time. Emory is a private university, and everybody's saying, you can't mandate a private entity to do anything. Well, the back door is they get a lot of public funds.
Right. Yeah.
So Rich McCormick made the call, and she got the organ transplant.
Wow.
So this is, I went back to him after, watching, sent him Jane Doe's testimony. It's compelling. If you follow my Substack, I put that out there. Her testimony is very compelling. And you've got to watch that. The things that people said about her. I mean, this is a mom. It's the same thing that they say about people that drink raw milk. It's just like, you're fighting the system.
Right.
You're not somebody who's, out drinking and carousing every night, but you're a horrible person because you won't take a vaccine. Well, guess what? She already had COVID. She already had natural immunity.
Natural immunity. Isn't it crazy, guys, that I think about this. We all lived through COVID, and now we can actually talk about it. But isn't it crazy that we're having to worry about legislation and back doors and have to put these laws in place because we are still dealing with the remnants of a crazy vaccine that, well, it's not even a vaccine, right? It's not, the definition doesn't even fit.
It doesn't prevent transmission.
No, it doesn't prevent transmission. It's an mRNA. I mean, there's so many things here that we could go down these rabbit holes, and it's like,
well, and they changed the definition of vaccine.
Absolutely. But here we are in 2026, and we're having to safeguard our own freaking health over one of the worst things that's ever happened, this event 201 that we've had to live through for years that shut down the world. And it's like, guys, come on. I feel like when you look back at it and you just think, how do we even allow ourselves to go through that? But yet here we are, and we're talking about, even though that it might be a private institution, all of this corporate, government money comes through to them. And it's just, I'm telling you, it's crazy to think about this.
HB 950 is another bill that Representative Kahine has dropped. It's in the Education Committee with Chris Irwin, so it has a chance. HB 1242 and HB 1350, one is the Georgia Medical Freedom Act, the other is the Medical Freedom Act. Those two, you link them together and they're like Teflon for us as citizens. One is carried by Charlize, HB 1242, and the other is HB 1315 and 50. The funny thing is, I was at the Public Health Committee meeting because I wanted to give them all a one-pager. And I went up to Sharon Cooper and to give her the one pager and just asked her to give the bill a hearing. She goes, well, who's the sponsor? I'm like, well, no, I want you to know what the bill is. And that's the whole thing. There are certain
That's the question to ask. What the bill is, not who's the sponsor.
Right. There are certain the reality is there are certain legislators that are blacklisted.
Yeah, that was
And-
politics right there.
Right. And there are certain legislators that wouldn't come on the show tonight for fear of talking, because if you talk, you will get blacklisted. You know, and Roy, I was sharing with you before we started the show. Let's see if I can bring it up. It's just today, you know, I read an article and it was about a Chicago White Sox player. Chicago White Sox pitching prospect Isaiah Carranza says he was warned he could be blacklisted after raising concerns about receiving a COVID vaccine. You know, and this was back in 2021. And there's a federal lawsuit now because he was vaccine injured.
Man.
You know, and they weren't allowed to talk about it. And it's the same thing at the legislature. The only people that you're going to see making media appearances typically are going to be the ones who are on the campaign trail.
You're right. It's so sad about this, but you're absolutely right about that.
Well, it's a big deal. And I'll just say, back in 2023, the COVID litigation conference happened here in Atlanta, and Steve Kirsch graciously agreed to, he was in town, he hosted that, it was the first one. He graciously agreed to go to the legislature with me. And they voted on SB1 that day, so it was a historic day for him to be there. But some friends helped me host a luncheon for legislators. I passed out flyers, all that kind of thing. Only 2 legislators came to the luncheon to meet Steve Kirsch. One was Todd Jones, the other was Greg Dolezal, so I give them credit for that. But since that time, getting any traction, what he was looking for is data transparency, and nothing has happened on that since that time. Right. Let me come back to that, bookmark that. Okay. What was significant about that day is Rick Williams, who has dropped SR 813, which is a Senate resolution urging the Department of Public Health to go back to 2013 and examine sudden deaths of children ages 0 to 2 and link their vaccine records. So it's taken 3 years for a legislator to tackle that issue of data transparency. Now, it's only ages 0 to 2. It's not addressing 15 to 45 and all the sudden deaths that we've had linking those vaccine records, but it's a start.
Right.
And it's pulling in, it's a very strong thing. But again, a Senate resolution only has to be passed by the Senate. The governor doesn't have to sign it. The House doesn't have to sign it. So that's the very narrowest of thing that we could get, but he's a hero for having done that.
Yeah.
But let me go back to 23, the COVID litigation conference. Steve Kirsch interviewed Rick Williams that day, and there's a tweet out there with over 500,000 views. Rick Williams is a funeral director. Rick Williams talked about the white clots that they were seeing in the dead bodies.
Man.
Now, did he catch heck for that?
Of course.
Is he appearing on the show tonight, even though he's carrying very important legislation?
Right.
They have to be very careful. As we know, the governor told, them last year, if they didn't vote yes for tort reform, they would be primaried.
That's right. And somebody lost a Chamber of Commerce job pretty much over it, right? I mean, I guess that's allegedly, but
So let me take you back. So SR 813, very important. Please contact Burt Jones' office.
Okay.
That is also, I believe, in the Health Committee under Senator Sam Watson. On Twitter, he's at Rep Ben Watson. We need that bill to get through the Health Committee. And again, that's not time sensitive to sine die because it's only in this, or to crossover. Has to get done because it's only on the Senate side.
Okay.
But Senator Williams took it one step further. I think the reception to that resolution was so positive. He now has introduced a bill which would have to make it through committee, through rules, be voted on before crossover. And that is SB 546. Okay. SB 546 not only urges the Department of Public Health to do a study, this mandates requirements of certain toxicology tests for medical examiners for children who die suddenly, linking their vaccine records.
Okay.
Again, they're very reticent to bring us the medical freedom legislation. This is a first step. If we can get even this year, it's very important because then they have to deal with the data.
Right. Absolutely.
We can't presume what the data is going to show. I've read enough studies globally. I'm fairly confident what our own data is going to show.
Right.
But it will establish officially within the state of Georgia. Then the other bills, the questions have to be answered.
Gotcha. This is all wonderful stuff. And
So
Julie's
I'll
a
just
wealth of knowledge.
well, so again, for me, I have gone to the legislature and I have said, my passion is medical freedom. This is what my family has experienced. But if our elections are not safe and secure, there's no further conversation about anything.
there you go.
So I will defer to Garland Favorito. I will defer, to Jason Frazier, to Kevin Moncla, Joe Rossi, Janice Johnston. I've been down there begging them not to cut the budget. I was very loud on do not remove Janelle King as the House appointee to the state election board.
Yeah.
I've been down there. If you wait till crossover day, if you wait till sine die, you're too late.
Yes. And speaking of that, the budget has been dropped.
It's dropped.
Are they going to fund the state election board? Did the state election board get any funding? I know that was an issue. Have you heard anything about that?
I've been really busy, and I confess, I was actually with my daughter and granddaughter at Jason Frazier's house today, learning about how to raise chickens.
Right.
So I saw Blake Tillery dropped a tweet and talked about finalized. The private conversation that I had with Blake Tillery was that the Senate had our back.
Okay. I hope so.
So
yeah.
I have not gone in there. Garland, if you had Garland on the show,
yes, and
Garland would be able to tell you exactly, we're watching that issue. I was assured by Blake Tillery, who's the Senate contact, on the budget. He does the budget on the Senate side, the appropriation stuff, that he had our back. And that's my experience, because Sine Die 2025, Amanda, I think you were there.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah. When the Senate's, the dinner hour happened. Well, let me just say, I showed up that morning and it's like, Janelle, what are my marching orders? What's the bill? Whatever. And so then I went to Max Burns, who is the head of the ethics committee and in the Senate, who's really been the bulldog on election stuff. And I said, hey, this is what we want. These are the bills. And he's like, okay, good. And he's go to the House side now and talk to them, And so, I went over and, talked to Victor Anderson and Martin Montan and, several of them or whatever. And so I'm going back and forth. Then about 11 o'clock, Max Burns is like, we're done. Okay, well, I'll keep working it anyway. Well, the dinner hour happened and it's just like Kemp went into the House chamber and it was like everyone was bowing down, like wanting to touch their clothes. It's just like his daughter was there, his wife was there, and it was just like they were royalty.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the bill turned into nothing. And we heard that and we're like, what? And then you go back to the Senate side. And then they adjourned. And the immediate conclusion that everybody had was like, the Senate just abandoned us. And then I went to one of the senators, I think it was Steve Gooch, and I just said, hey, what just happened? And he said, we're not going to play ball. That was the most heroic thing that happened in the entire 2025 session. And that there are three defining moments for Burt Jones. Now, is Burt everything that we want him to be? Did they drop the combined HB 1242, HB 1350 as a Senate version? No. Am I happy about that? No. Did I walk with Burt, about a week ago and ask for a meeting? And did he say he would give me a meeting? Yes. Turned me over to a staff member. Well, now I've got a meeting, but it's not with him. It's with a different staff member. So it's just like, that's not what you
did
said.
That with me with election integrity.
Yeah, that's not what you said. But I've said to him, I'm like, Burt, where's 2020 Burt? 2020 Burt is who will get elected in the state of Georgia in 2026. We need to see that before this session ends. I said, there are three moments that have defined you thus far. One was 2020 Burt. You held, with your colleagues, you held the Senate hearing, you stood firm, you lost your Senate chairmanship. One was 2022 sine die, when, Jeff Duncan pulled his last minute dastardly deed and destroyed, you stood firm and you were a leader. And I said, other constitutional candidates, can't say that. But I said, and in 2025, you told the House, you stood up to the House and you said, we're done. Pass this or not. You don't have the funding to go with Dominion beyond,
Right.
what is it? July, Amanda, you
July
know the date. Is
1st,
it July 1st, 2026?
20,
So we
yeah.
can't have a general election this year using the Dominion. They're unfunded.
I have a caveat to that too, by the way, but I'll let you finish.
So all that to say, we are dying in this country, the Maha movement,
Yes.
to have a Moses.
Yes.
God called Moses to be the leader. Do I feel equipped to be on this podcast? No. Who am I? I'm just a mom. I'm just a person. I'm just a grandmother. But here I am, send me. Moses did not want to lead the Israelites. Moses had murdered a man. Moses had a history. What are you going to do with me? We are looking for that because we voted Maha and we are getting an executive order on glyphosate.
Yes.
RFK asked Dr. Kelly Victory on a Saturday morning to be Surgeon General. And on Monday morning, we got Casey Means, who won't say there's a problem with the vaccine.
Right.
And it's just like, excuse me. You read my Substack, there are other states that are banning mRNA technology. Yes. Florida, yes. It's a bioweapon.
It most certainly
we know
is.
that. You read the Epstein files, you see in writing that Epstein was colluding with Bill Gates and
yes.
all the funding. This is a depopulation agenda.
Thank you.
The people that are dropping a dead around us.
Yes.
Colorectal cancer, the rates of cancer in people under 50, it's unprecedented.
Yes.
Autism in 1970, 1 in 10,000. Nationally now in the U.S., we have the highest rates, 1 in 32. In California, where they allow no religious, no health exemptions whatsoever, it's 1 in 12 boys. Do you know the cost to raise a child of autism is estimated to be $6 to $8 million? God, we don't need to go to Africa to get slaves.
Right.
The human capital involved in that. They are destroying the middle class simply through healthcare and taking our wealth by impoverishing us and our dependence on healthcare by making us sick.
That's right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking. Maybe this doesn't make sense.
No. In fact, the Epstein files.
It resonates.
Yes. They are even talking about the programs that went far beyond even the Epstein list, talking about how they're going to try to put vaccines in the food supply, in the water supply, so they can get it into us. I mean, we're talking about like next level Orwellian stuff here.
Well, even mosquitoes.
Hey, mosquitoes. Bill Gates dumping mosquitoes. The ticks.
Blocking out the sun.
Yes.
All of these kinds of crazy things. They're not conspiracy theories.
No.
Because we see it happening around us. And, where do we get our news? That's the first thing that I say to somebody, hey, if they want to have a conversation, they want to talk about Trump. It's just like, Trump is complicated. Where do you get your news?
Yep. There you go.
Exactly.
Let's have a real conversation. You don't want to talk about Donald Trump. I mean, the State of the Union address, for heaven's sake, tell me, what was the Maha platform in the State of Union address?
There wasn't much at all.
Okay, so drugs. They reduced the
cost of drugs. And yeah.
But again, that's a big pharma thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is personal freedom?
Where is the pro-humanity? Every bill that you're mentioning here is a pro-human bill that takes us people away from the system, right? And we shouldn't even have to worry about these protections in place. But you're 100% right. This is a depopulation agenda. This is a global. We're on corporate welfare. You are not off base at all. And this is what people need to hear, need to resonate, need to understand.
So the bottom line is, end of story, end of conversation. We need no other bills. If we get HB 1242 and HB 1350 passed this year, that takes care of everything. It's medical freedom, no mandates from employers, from the state, from anyone, Department of Public Health, whatever. The problem is they've been assigned to Sharon Cooper's Public Health Committee. That's the place that medical freedom bills go to die. There's an ivermectin bill,
yes.
Both in the Senate and the House. The House bill is live.
So they had a hearing, right? And that
Excuse me?
they had a hearing on the bill, and that's as far as they would let it go. And we wanted to vote to the
Yeah,
floor.
HB 1089. It was assigned to Lee Hawkins' Health Committee, which is a glimmer of hope. You know, Lee Hawkins, I've asked several years in a row for a COVID study committee. You know, instead, Sharon Cooper called in her public health committee this summer, over the summer, you know, from all corners of the state, not like a Thursday afternoon during session. And they had a meeting on medical assistance in dying.
Yes,
you know, this
I saw
isn't
that.
Oregon. This isn't Canada.
That was insane.
You know, right. And so it's just like, why are we spending our legislative time and resources to discuss an issue?
Yeah.
And I've been down there, and I mean, I let off the session with that. You know, the percentage, I don't remember the details. It's in my Substack, but it's just like,
yes,
the number of people
I read that
dying in Canada from assisted suicide. And we're not, you know, December 31st, 2025, a 26-year-old with a mental health issue was euthanized. We're not talking about a 90-year-old with terminal cancer, you know, bone in intensive pain. We're talking about high numbers of the population now. It is cheaper to recommend euthanasia than it is to actually treat. And that's the direction that they're going. So, but anyway, so that's what she's using her resources on her committee. Does she want to hear HB 1242 sponsored by Charlize Byrd? Absolutely not. That's why I was urging the Senate to drop a combined bill of HB 1242 and HB 1250 from the Senate side, so we could at least have people on record for their vote.
Right.
Again, on the Senate side, the challenge is there's one health committee, and that is chaired by Senator Ben Watson and Kate Kirkpatrick. And they rarely entertain a conversation with me. My conversation with Ben Watson initially, when I told him about my neighbor, he's like, well, is this about vaccines? He's like, I'm a geriatrician. I recommend them for my patients. And this is not a conversation that we're going to have. So, but again, keep in mind that the Senate Majority Caucus, you know, is funded because of SB 221. They have PAC money, and they funded the Peach State Values PAC. Larry Walker was chair, but then he was challenged by Tory Branham, so that the leadership handed off to Matt Brass. But they opposed challengers for Larry Walker, his challenger was Tory Branham, who's now running for Congress against Rick Allen.
Right. Yes. Okay.
But they funded a campaign against Beth Majeroni running against Ben Watson. So while I talk at the ropes with all the senators about medical health issues, they're like, oh, well, you got to get through Ben Watson or whatever. And they know, while they agree with me, they won't take the vaccine and their family members don't take the vaccine. It's not going to go anywhere in the Senate because of Ben Watson, but yet they defended him and brought him back to the Senate.
Sure.
So it's just this game. It's just this shell game of lack of accountability, them not fully embracing that it is government of, by, and for the people. Amen. And that we are serious about the concern. If I take the time to go to the Capitol, they're like, oh, are you coming back tomorrow? I'm like, why did I even have to come today? Yeah. Why are you not doing this? Why are you not listening?
And that's what
I put out a tweet because, again, the president of the Senate wouldn't even take a flyer. It was after a committee meeting. I was passing. I'm like, hey, no, sorry. And then I'm like, well, can I walk with you? No, sorry. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm a voter. Maybe not in your district, but you're the president of the Senate. What are you there for?
Exactly.
Do you only listen to people who pay you?
Yeah. Well, we are a corporate welfare state. So
follow the money.
Follow the money. Absolutely. So
Nicole has another great bill. It's HB 950. This one has been through, is the parent rights bill in terms of informed consent. I worked in education for Fulton County Schools. I managed the money of an elementary school. So oftentimes in the summer, I was the only employee there. So when parents came in to register their student, you have to give your eyes and your vision record and your hearing record and your vaccination record and your transcripts and everything. I always said, just so you know, exemptions are available, but you have to forgive us something, whether it's your written exemption or whether it's whatever. Most data clerks for schools will just say this is required. So parents automatically go to the health department and HB 950 mandates informed consent, that parents are informed that they have the right to an exemption.
Was that Noel? K on?
That's Noel's bill. And this
Yeah.
one is assigned to the Education Committee. Chris Irwin is chair. Again, if you go to the Georgia Legislative website, I don't know if you've got that. It's legis.ga. Do you have that?
I don't have it pulled up, but we do have it. Yes. You want me
I'll
to pull it up?
I'll pull it up.
Sure. I can.
It's legis.ga.gov. That'll tell you everything, who your legislator is.
Yeah. In fact,
It'll tell you what the calendar is. It'll tell you what's
Yes.
on the schedule for the day, what committee meetings are there, what's on the agenda, what bills are there.
Yes.
You can put in a keyword about a bill. You can put in hemp, and it'll pull up every bill with the word hemp, or every bill with the word vaccine.
Yeah, there's so
you
much
can identify-
information we're sharing. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to re-edit this, and I'm going to put up the graphics as we go through, and we're going to re-release this because this is so important. People need to get all this in. So,
and again, you promised that you would have the graphic for
yes,
Georgia Coalition for
I have
Vaccine
it.
Choice.
It's pulled up right here. I have a screenshot of their website, and their website is here on the screen. So if you want to talk about
So
that,
By Sandy Marcus.
yes,
Yes, Sandy Marcus.
It's a
Sandy
great
Marcus
group.
Sandy
Yes.
Marcus is a hero.
I'm going to pull that.
When I
on
first started going to the
quickly.
legislature and met Rick Williams, he took me to his office and he showed me a picture of shaking hands with RFK, Bobby Kennedy Jr. Sandy Marcus just showed me a picture she was there that same when he was here. I believe it was 2018, and it was a picture of, I think, RFK and Sharon Cooper's office maybe. So she's heard the same things. And how we respond to the call is different.
Right.
But RFK has been here, and he's been all about data transparency and medical freedom all along. So our Georgia legislators have heard this. This is not new religion for them. But how they respond is different. But Sandy Marcus has been in this fight forever. I don't want to speak too much about her story, but from what I know, she has 2 grandchildren, twins with autism. And her son-in-law took the COVID vaccine and died from it.
Oh my.
So people have a story. Children's Health Defense is another organization that people should be following relative to wanting to be informed with what's going on.
And ICANN.
Del Bigtree, Aaron Seary,
Yeah.
the attorney who's been on the front lines deposing Stanley Plotkin, the godfather of vaccines, the books that they've written. I mean, if you're not on X, I can't help you.
Right. Well, definitely the Georgia Coalition for Vaccine Choice. I've been into their group for quite a while now, and usually for those out there, and the website is posted, and you need to be a part of their text groups because they make it super, super easy to sign on to their bills. It's just, you can put your own message in there, but you put your name and you can just click it, and it does work. It works very well. And I hope that we can get Sandy Marcus on the show soon and go more in depth, but absolutely.
Should be fabulous.
Okay. Wow. So I
Yeah, you
did
got
want to do
that.
a quick follow up. We don't have to.
They have alerts, legislative
Yes.
alerts, and Voter GA does as well.
Yes.
So if somebody's not following Voter GA, they need to be doing that. But yeah, the Georgia Coalition website is gcvcadvocates.org. And when you hit the website, be sure there are a couple different options, who we are, what we do, connect with us, critical news, 2026 session. They're right on it. And, they have a very active Facebook group. They have a Substack, but advocacy resources, you have got to sign up for their advocacy alerts. That's what you're looking for on their website.
Yes, absolutely. And
You'll be more informed than I am.
One thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys have known, but this is involving the QR code that's just recently came to light, that the QR code is supposed to be gone by July 1st, 2026. And, of course, we went through blue ribbon committees, and they were all talking about, we don't know how we're going to do this, and we don't have the funding. And so there's been a Democrat bill that has just dropped, I guess, 2 days ago, right before, the deadline, House Bill 1423, by, I think it's been signed or by at least 3 or 4 Democrats, a bill to amend the relating to elections. Basically what they're wanting to do is they want to revise the starting date from July 1st, 2026 for the QR codes and extend it a year to July 1st, 2027. So postpone it.
Yeah.
The Democrats have just thrown in a bill, and it just seems like this would just solve so many problems for people on both sides of the aisle, right? This little one-page Democrat bill that was just kind of thrown in there, that they're going to try to wiggle their way out of this law that's been enacted and postpone it till another year from now. And so I wanted to add that to that because I think that's absolutely crazy. I hope it never sees the light of day. I'd love to see the QR codes completely gone by July 1st. So
I heard about that, and we had one of our members at the big GOP last night. We had Clark Dean for governor, and we had David Clark for lieutenant governor speak. And I believe David Clark said he would keep an eye on that. They would watch that. He didn't think Republicans were going to. I don't want to misspeak or misquote him, but that's what I recall. The gist of what he was saying was, he didn't think that was going to go anywhere, that we would do anything. But our member was saying that thing better not go anywhere.
Exactly, right? We've got to worry about these little one-pagers that they can try to slide in when nobody's looking, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, guess what? We don't have to worry about the QR code. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's that happens at the Christmas tree bill on Sine Die. It's 2 years ago. It was the scrap metal bill became judicial compensation. That's not germane, but but yet they joke about it on the set. There's nothing funnier than watching the Georgia Senate. I mean, they're just absolutely hilarious on the floor. But and so they joke about it. But I mean, what does judicial compensation have to do with scrap metal?
Right.
Nothing. But I mean, it highlights the fact that anything can happen on Sine Die.
Or like last year, there was the Brunswick stew bill, and buried in that was something about electronics.
Always. And
so I wonder what was buried in the chicken wing bill.
Sure.
Didn't we get lemon pepper chicken wings?
That was this year. What, lemon pepper? That's the official flavor. Give me. Oh God.
It's probably going to be the bill that's changing the state flower from the Cherokee Rose to the Sweet Bay Magnolia. Watch that bill.
Yeah, and
there is really a bill, and that's a great bill. You want it to be a native plant, but what bill is going to be the Christmas tree bill this year? Who knows?
Yes, and Georgia Freedom Caucus, they put out SB 34, as it was originally written, would make it illegal for public utilities to force everyday ratepayers, to subsidize massive data centers. That's the big bill we've been talking about, waiting on, and then apparently, they're trying to create a backdoor in this bill now that
give
will
them an out.
Opt out, and so. This is the standard case of this bill starts out to be beautiful and it's everything we wanted whenever the Christmas tree bill. So we'll see. But
that was in the State of the Union. President Trump did mention, giving the companies the freedom to build their own electrical grid, mini grid for themselves, and that they would foot the cost. So that was good, but how that gets implemented, I'm not sure.
Well,
because we've seen him do other executive orders, like for election integrity, and it is not manifesting in the states.
Yes, I agree. And we got to be careful about data centers because he also created an executive order in data centers back in Christmas that was pretty concerning about how the federal, could be federalized. And we're in a fight of our life in this state right now for it. So
I can tell you, my husband met a person at an event, and her job is to go throughout the state to data centers to make them as efficient as possible, which means cutting jobs. She said it's to eliminate jobs to make them run as efficiently as possible.
So a data center is not a boon for the local economy. It's isn't it kind of like the number of people that it takes to run a massive data center is less than 50?
It's small. So the biggest thing they're probably counting on, if they're trying to sell to the community that's for jobs, is really not. The main thing is they're hoping to get tons of taxes from it. But what's the cost? Okay, you get a whole bunch of revenue and now you have no water.
Right.
It's kind of like tax credits for Hyundai end up being jobs for South
Koreans on SB1s.
And then we fund the governor to go on an apology tour to South Korea. I mean, we're paying for it every which way.
100%. And you look at the data centers, like you were saying, Amanda. So the basic fundamentals of life are water. You have to have water to live, and obviously we need electricity. And there's nobody on this planet that says we have enough electricity right now to do any of these things. It doesn't even look pro-human. It doesn't provide jobs. We're going to be subsidizing with our tax money. Our power bills are going to go up, even though they say they don't. And then these data centers are asking the federal government to secure their loans, for crying out loud. If in case they lose money, guess who pays for it? I mean, and they would look at us like, man, y'all are making a big ruckus about data centers. Well, tell me why we shouldn't, for crying out loud. You're wanting to put one right outside my backyard.
Okay, so hold the phone.
All right.
I have a daughter that lives in Swanee, Peachtree Ridge High School, and there was a meeting last night about them putting a cell phone tower right on the campus of Peachtree Ridge High School, microwaving the kids, 5,000 kids all at once. And it was funny just kind of listening to them, because they're like, number one, federally, you can't deny them. It's our right to object to a cell phone tower, 5G or whatever has been taken away from us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're trying to justify the students, the 5,000 students in the campus are sucking up all of the cell phone waves. Therefore we need this. It's just like, hold the phone.
Right.
Why don't we address that problem right there?
The phone's up.
Well, they don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my daughter stood up and she's like, I was a teacher in this system. And if we could just address the phone problem with students, that would go a long way to solving this problem.
Absolutely.
We're creating the digital prison.
Yes. It's 6G.
And we're funding
about
our own
it.
destruction.
Absolutely. We could probably do like a 3-hour discussion on this stuff. You're absolutely right. And I wanted to point out about data centers. Jason Anavitare, I'm not friends with him, but I follow him. And he made a post earlier tonight about one on data centers. He says a county should not change zoning for data centers without real public meetings for transparency. And I agreed with that, and I was like the first comment. I put 100% as a legislator, how can this be handled so that they don't? And of course,
shout out to Jason Anavitarte. I'm really glad that he put out that tweet.
Yeah.
He was okay. So Steve Gooch is running for lieutenant governor. He was the majority leader.
Okay.
Jason Anavitarte was elected the new majority leader. He's a Georgia Tech grad, and he's somebody who will have a conversation with me. And, I've had some conversations with him after hours at the Capitol that were quite productive and hopeful. So it's all about horse trading. Who's on our side, who's not on our side. I told you about the president of the Senate not even taking a piece of paper from me.
Yes.
Versus, being invited into the office after hours to have a conversation about what our priorities are. And so that's a hard thing. There are so many legislators there. Don't get me wrong. I genuinely like them. But it's just like, how do you get them to legislate by their conscience as a lesser magistrate,
Right,
versus an obedient servant to a governor who goes to Davos?
You're 100% right. That was he sent a comment back. He said, we don't do zoning with the American flag, like I was saying, and I think he missed my point. So I let him know what my point was. But that's my whole point, Julie, is that the governor of this state has said he wanted Georgia to be #1 state to do data centers in. This is a top-down push. And if you look at the communities that are being affected, especially the rural counties, when by the time the people knew about these a few months ago in Georgia, all of the groundwork had been laid out. The data centers were pretty much ready to go. The county commissioners had been, put in their place and said, hey, this is the lollipops that you're going to get, and we're going to do this. And by the time the public found out, guess what? Oh, there's already 3 data centers being built. And that's my whole point to this. If you've got somebody like
Middle
him,
Georgia.
yes, Middle Georgia's being ate up right now.
Every county is like, who's next?
But
we all feel like sitting ducks.
It's
the meeting
down.
that I was at last night at Peachtree Ridge High School. The only reason they had that meeting is because they had done it in the dark of night, like the Rivian plant. But they had put up a cell phone tower at Archer High School in Gwinnett and got their, rear end chewed. So they're having a public meeting at Peachtree Ridge High School But at the same time, they're basically telling, they presented one study from, 1984 or whatever saying it was safe.
Oh, yeah.
And that they've received no other studies, but they're basically saying, well, you don't have a choice anyway.
Yeah, the
You know,
UHF signals
we're being
from your
gracious,
television.
giving you the chance to earn the money, for your students, but you really don't have a choice. And I'm sorry, I just stood up and said, our children are not for sale.
Amen to that. This is top down. The counties are not the ones that are doing this. It is top down, and they're trying to do it and have it all wrapped up in a nice, pretty bow before we even find out about it. I'm very grateful that he made that statement. But again, what are we going to do as the legislature, as citizens of this state, to make sure that this stops, that our counties don't have these things all neatly wrapped up in a bow and it's top down? That's my whole point here. So, wow.
And another thing about the data centers is someone was telling me that Elon Musk was talking about them going into space.
Into space, yes.
Mars.
So what happens if that becomes the best option, and the most economically, viable? Like if that becomes more affordable, I think he was saying something about that.
Mm-hmm.
Then and you've built all these monstrous buildings,
yes,
and then they're empty and an eyesore.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, there's so many arguments here. They say, well, guess what? Well, the data centers that we're building now will be obsolete in 10 years anyway. And I'm like, really? So you're just going to tear up our soil? We're supposed to be number one in agriculture, but we're going to have all these huge million-square-foot buildings that are going to be obsolete? You got to be joking me.
Yeah. Our ag, Georgia has prime ag land. I mean, I think the amount of acreage per cow compared to most, a lot of other states, like out west, there's no comparison. And our water,
My daughter and I were just having that conversation today about solar panels and how so much of our land is being taken up, paved over by solar panels, when you could put it over a shopping center parking lot or a building roof or anything, and you're not eating into our ag land for what benefits the next generation is the ultimate decider, or should be. But it's all about economics, and it's all about the lowest cost to the vendor, to the business, the provider. But we're selling out the next generation.
Yes, we are. It's never pro-human. It's always pro. How much money can I make? How much can I pad my pockets? I'm so sick of it. I want to see pro-human things going on in this world.
One thing I mentioned Elon Musk's name earlier. It's coming back to this conversation. I'm just gonna go out to X. There's a code. Just search for it. The COVID Justice Resolution. Sign it.
Gotcha.
We need millions of names. Elon Musk has now put his weight behind it, and this is a message that needs to get out. We need justice. Emergencies do not suspend the Constitution. Right. If you agree with that statement, please go out and find the resolution and sign it.
Will do. All right, ladies. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and browse through the comments real quick. We don't have many tonight. But we had some sort of a blip earlier, and I don't know what happened, but we're still good. We still got people watching. Thank you. Good to see you, Tracy Tomlin. Thank you for letting me know about the sound. Jace Carter, good to have you tonight. Victoria Cruz, good to see you. Greasy Boots, good to see you. And Carol Streeter, thank you. Blake McMillan, good to see you. Holly Elizabeth Terry, one of my favorites, good to see you. She says,
Holly, I brought up your name last night in Gwinnett. I told some people who were not connected that they need to look you up because you would be on their side.
Yeah, I'm trying to strong arm her into starting a podcast. I think her name, her voice needs to be out there.
Gwinnett is hot.
Yeah, it is. It very much.
You look
is.
at what's going on in the schools in Gwinnett. There's so much there. The elections in Gwinnett. There's so much there.
Yeah, we've got Antonio down there, War Room, Georgia, right in the middle of Gwinnett. He's wonderful, and
we could talk about Gwinnett all day long.
Yes. Holly says, hi, Julie, praying for your daughter. I'm so sorry you all are going through this. Michael Anthony, great to see you, Michael Anthony. He's an awesome dude up north, podcaster, great guy. Carol Spreeder says, I have not told anyone what is going on in my personal life, but I would love to talk to Julie about health care or rare cancer that is only in males from the age of 30 to 50 and no cure. In the hospital, 2 different diagnoses missed where radiology had put alert, needs immediate attention, and a heart attack. There is a landfill less than 10 miles, and on my dirt road, 4 that I know of, 2 have died, 2 are still alive, with 1 at stage 4, less than 2 miles apart. No one in my county wants to do anything. So
let me just say this: things happen for a reason, and not to minimize anybody's cancer situation. I have 2 beloved dogs. I lost one to kidney failure. He was only 9. That was just a couple months ago. Last June, I was battling that, and then my other dog. The vet said you might want to put them both down at the time because he was diagnosed with a liver cancer that was pressing on his vena cava. That was about Memorial Day. I lost the one with kidney failure. That's really hard to fight. But the one with liver cancer, chemo is not your only option. So ivermectin, fenbendazole, you can get that. I'm not a doctor, but it's available at Tractor Supply. If you follow, again, where do you get your news? If you're online, you should be following Dr. William Mackey's.
Yes.
He is a Canadian oncologist having great success. Scott Adams dabbled a bit with ivermectin, didn't fully follow all of the advice of Dr. William Mackey's, as I understand it. Mackey's has commented that on several times, that other patients with a similar diagnosis that went the distance with him are still alive and doing better. So that is a major voice. You need to be, and immune support. Just recognize that our body is dealing with cancer every day.
Yes.
And what is our immune? Are we destroying our immune system, or are we equipping our immune system to fight it? And whether cancer is a parasite or whether it functions in the same way that the glutamate receptors and all that functions in the same way that cancers do, people are having great success following the Joe Tippins protocol. And with my own dog, 2 months ago, went in for imaging. They had told me to put the dog down. This is, I'm working with a couple different vets, but I've had to largely figure it out myself. There are a lot of online groups now. But again, my vet said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because I can't palpate the tumor. I can see the image of it, but it looks like the liquid is gone and it's drying up. And again, this is a dog who just turned 14. I've never had a Sheltie live to 14. So to me, God has allowed this to happen so that I learned the path. You have to have, I've always trusted my doctor until you go down the path and you realize, wait a minute, there's more here. And so I'm on a path where I'm dealing with cancer and navigating, mushrooms and CBD, and don't want to be on this path, but I'm learning. And maybe God allowed my dog to have cancer because my daughter would get cancer.
I see.
So don't
always
rule anything out. We're in a new era, just like the whole glyphosate thing. It's just like, yes, I understand that glyphosate is very important for our current farming structure. And as RFK admitted today, he wasn't happy about the executive order, but 98% of soybeans grown now, start to finish from seeds, they require the glyphosate, and it's 97% of corn or whatever, it's virtually identical numbers. But it's just like, liability shields protect wrongdoers.
Amen.
We don't give the liability shield. We never give a liability shield. We look, problems demand solutions. And I'm reading articles today about laser technology in the soil as a weed killer.
That's right.
But you got to go back and re-engineer the seeds, because the seeds are all patented and engineered. And, we're not talking about sustainable farming, and we're not talking about family farming. We're talking about big ag controlling the mechanism for all farmers, or you can't make a living. That has to be undone. That's evolved over, RFK said that, today. That's evolved over the last 50 years. Trump inherited that system. We have to undo the system. It's not the answer that I want, and RFK is conceding more than I would. I went toe to toe with the Georgia legislators, with Russ Goodman, who introduced the bill, and all of them. And it's just like, you don't give a liability shield because you just don't.
Absolutely.
You solve the problem.
You solve the problem.
With innovation.
I agree.
You allow the market to be the market.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
We already know other countries.
Our legislators love to say they're free market, pro capitalism.
They're pro-business,
Yeah.
not
They're pro some-
pro-capitalism.
Yeah.
And I have a list of bills if it would be helpful, just to kind of list the name of bills. We still have time, if you want me to do
We've
that.
got time. Yeah. Yeah. I'm good. We only have a few more comments and we'll get to them. So go ahead with that.
So on election, and Amanda, pipe in if I've missed any in areas in which you have expertise that I don't. But I've checked in with Garland, and the bills that I've been watching on election integrity are SB 303, which is statewide hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots. HB 1108, hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots. That's a House version. HB 215, end voter data transfers to ERIC. HB 214, comprehensive. That's a comprehensive bill, election integrity forms that the Senate passed. HB 978, that is the funding bill that we're watching. We brought this up earlier in terms of if they're going to fund the state election board fully. And then Senator Dolezal just dropped HB 5568. How that is different from what was already accomplished by the Senate last year, I haven't dug into that, but that was brought to my attention by a senator that, we already did most of that last year. Is this just for an election? I don't know. So, but those are the bills that I'm watching, and I've spent a lot of time on medical freedom. If you're writing it down, HB 1242, HB 1350, call Sharon Cooper and ask her to give those bills a hearing. Do pass, get them to the floor. Speaker Burns. And then HB 950, immune transparency, that's relative to the school vaccination records so that you have informed consent. That's in Chris Irwin's Education Committee. SB 546, that's the bill that Rick Williams just dropped. It is in the Public Safety Committee.
Okay.
What does that tell me? That tells me it has a good chance of passing because it's not under Ben Watson. And John Albers is the public safety chair. He signed SR 813, which is the kind of sister resolution that urges the Department of Public Health to do a study linking the vaccines to child sudden deaths ages 0 to 2. So that is how smart our legislators are. When they want something done,
right,
they get it done. So that bill got assigned to the right committee for its passage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John Albers, he reached out to me one day. I was inquiring about a bill, and it's out of the blue. He texted me, and we talked, and he was just like, "Yeah, that one's going to be dead." And I'm like, "Wow, okay." So they're paying attention. We're making waves with this stuff. So
and John Albers has a challenger. Can you name her?
No, I don't think I can.
Lee Hills.
Oh, Lee Hills. Okay.
I was urged to run. I ran. I'm not running again, but I was urged I've been urged to run for both against HD 57 Stacey Evans and as well against my Senator Sonia Halpern, SD 39. And again, when I was urged to run for Senate, they're like, "We know you won't win, but we just need to bring her to the middle."
Yeah.
When they don't have a challenger, when these guys run unopposed, they're not accountable. On the Buckhead bill, in a North Georgia senator's district, they voted overwhelmingly, the voters voted in support of giving the people of Buckhead the right to vote. We all want the right to vote and express ourselves, right? Well, then when the Buckhead bill came to a vote, that very senator voted against giving Buckhead the right to vote. And I said to him, "Why did you think?" He goes, "They're not paying attention. They don't care." Well, he happens to be the governor's floor leader, so he's more accountable to the governor than he is to his own voters.
Right.
I object to having governor's floor leaders because who do they represent? Their voters or the governor?
The governor, absolutely.
Right.
What you're talking about there, the top-down thing, we just recently heard a legislator and talk to us and say that it's so much top-down. It's really frustrating because good people who are there cannot get anything done or properly represent their constituents.
Yes.
And this person said it should be bottom up, but that's not how it is.
Yeah.
And the key people, the majority of the decisions in Georgia are made by three key people: the governor, the Senate leader, which is Lieutenant Governor, and the House leader, the Speaker.
You're right.
And SB 221 all gave them the ability to raise money in session, out of session, dark money, foreign sources, undisclosed, destroy the Republican Party, destroy the voice of the delegate, the voice of the voter.
Yeah.
It's all about the money.
I want that repealed. want it
Yeah.
repealed so bad. Oh,
Well, I mean, it's been challenged. Chris
yes.
Carr has challenged
challenged
it,
it, and
and Rick Jackson is challenging it.
okay.
I'm
Well,
curious how his case is different from Chris Carr's.
well,
Because Chris didn't win, right?
Chris didn't win it, but the judge ruled that the way that he filed and what he used to file it, he said the judge basically said if you would have just said that this was unconstitutional, we could have bought that. But like what you put it under had really it has no standing for what you, and this guy's supposed to be the attorney general. So that's basically what he said. He said, I agree this is kind of an unconstitutional law, but guess what?
Can we just take a vote among the three of us? Is
Yeah.
there any state that has a more lame attorney general?
No, absolutely not. You go back to my Facebook. He is an irredeemable for me. I cannot, will not cast a vote for the man. I don't care if he's last man standing. I'm sorry. That's what I can't do it. Consciously, I cannot cast a vote for that man. No, irredeemable.
So back to the list of legislation. Let me just keep running down this list. So SB 546, the child death, and that's the medical examiner's bill to mandate toxicology testing for sudden death of infants. SR 813, that is the urging resolution to the Department of Public Health to study infant deaths and link. HB 1089, which is active in the House as the ivermectin bill. Rep. Karen Mathiak is the sponsor. It is in Chair Hawkins' Health Committee. There is a Senate version, but Colton Moore carried it, and nobody has enlivened it.
What?
SB 415, banning lab-grown meat.
Oh my God, that's got to be absolutely.
I mean, this is legislation of, by, and for the people, and it just sits in a committee.
Man.
And then HB 522, I mentioned earlier, organ transplant non-discrimination. We need that bill as a backstop in case they don't get to the Medical Freedom Act. But if we have the Medical Freedom Act, this goes away.
Wow.
SB 74, library materials form. There's, it removes the liability exemption for distribution of harmful materials to minors, because right now there's an exemption from librarians. And we want that to go away. We don't want to prosecute librarians. That's not the goal.
Yes.
But the goal is this stuff shouldn't be in the libraries.
You think?
Or it should be in an adult section. There's an
Yes.
exemption. It can be in an adult section, but it can't be available without parent knowledge.
That's
SB 426, a civics test requirement.
Oh, I heard about this one. Yes.
Don't we want that?
Absolutely.
I mean, for anybody who
Yes.
participates in any level of volunteer organization, it should include Robert's Rules of Order, a test on Robert's. Wouldn't we all be better off if we were tested
Yeah.
on Robert's Rules of Order
You are not
after
kidding.
what we've been through in Georgia?
Yes.
So that's kind of the election and the medical freedom. A couple, other areas, good bills. SB 425, cursive instruction.
yes.
Our kids can't even read the Declaration of Independence without AI helping them because it's in cursive.
That's insane.
SB 471, that's going to pass. That's Greg Dolezal is carrying that. That's already been through rules. It takes off the sunset on on the masks.
Yes.
We got rid of the masks, but
Yes.
this removes the sunset, and that needs to happen. And it's a year early because it just needs to happen in this legislative session.
Amen.
HB 1210, court protection for parents, prevents courts from compelling gender transition interventions from minors and taking away parents' rights. Then there's another HR 1023, keep an eye on that. It's a proposed constitutional amendment affirming fundamental parents' rights.
Okay.
SB 442, CDL verification for non-citizens. HB 1154, human trafficking penalty expansion. Then there are some, you could probably go into the 2A bills, HB 1224 and HB 529. Automatic renewal reform, HB 1324, repeal silencer prohibition. So there's a lot of good legislation out there. The question is,
Will we get it?
will it get through committee?
Yeah.
It's not even, it's not even what will it go up or down. It's we don't even get to see the positions that our elected representatives will take because it doesn't make it through committee.
Yeah.
It doesn't even get brought up for a vote in a committee. So that's where calls, and I'll say calls, not emails. Emails take too much time and they don't read them. But again, on the Georgia Coalition, those advocacy alerts, just change the subject line, just personalize it a bit, but click on it and it'll go to the entire committee on the bill.
Right.
It's so well done and so worthwhile. Just personalize it a little bit so it's not a stock email.
Right.
But again, always pick up the phone and make the call
Okay.
because they at least record it.
Yes, it works. I do a video every year. I just did one on the ivermectin bill where we sat here right on camera and made the calls. It was a 6-minute video, and I'm like, guys, it's this easy. Just do it, you know. So, all right.
And I mean, even at this point, you can use AI. You can just go into Grok.
Yeah.
And you can just say, who's the committee chair? You know, what's their phone number? It's so easy.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So go ahead,
Roy,
Amanda.
a couple points with the voting bill. One, and I don't know which one it is, but Julie, isn't it? It's kind of a combination. Like there's hand marked, and then you're counting early voting, hand counting, but then you're machine counting election day.
I think what you're talking about is the recommendation of the Blue Ribbon panel.
Okay.
Where they were treating early voting different from election day voting and using, paper ballots for one, but not the other.
Okay.
Yeah. And Garland is the one to follow on that because again,
I used to be so consistent with Saturday calls, and I've fell off the bandwagon recently. I need to get back on.
I'll just say that is not what's going to happen with elections is not a done deal. And that is going to be the sine die battle this year.
Yeah, I think you're
as much as I think for our civil rights, medical freedom is the battle for the next generation. We can't even get to that conversation if we don't fix our elections.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, you're 100% right. We know the QR codes. Like I said, the Democrats have already dropped a bill. I'm not even so sure that a Democrat wrote it. I think maybe somebody else wrote it and handed it to them to put it in. But
it's like the glyphosate studies. The glyphosate studies that it's all written by the lobbyists, and it's all false data.
Of course, and in election,
and as far as like ag goes, we have a family friend who's an engineer and did a lot of work in Europe, and was talking about how land is not really available to the average person because of how Europe developed under the old system, feudalism and lords and all this. And so, people came to America, and the average person, even today, can still own like 20 acres, and we want to keep it that way.
Absolutely.
And because you can farm on 20 acres, and we don't have to go the way of, just a few companies owning all the agriculture. We can go back to lots of small farmers, 50, 100, 150 acres. And I think that's the American dream. That's part of it.
Yes.
And we want to preserve that. And I know a certain rep, I won't say his name, who told us, oh, the future of ag is corporate. And I was like, you have no idea how many young people want to go back to the land.
Yes.
But we've lost that generational knowledge. They've got to regain the knowledge. And they also need to know what the pathway is financially and economically.
Agreed.
So, but Dean Clark, and I'm not endorsing anyone, but I just want to share this since we just heard from him. He sounded very knowledgeable on a lot of the agricultural issues. He's also concerned about maternal mortality in healthcare in Georgia. And he was really, sorry, again, it's the echo. I'm like trying to, but he was really into regenerative agriculture and more knowledgeable. And I don't want to announce before he does, but he's going to talk to someone very key in Georgia. And so on the issue. And so I was really excited because he seems to understand systems and how to implement and change and collaborate. So again, that's the only one I've heard from. That's the only governor candidate that's come to bid so far. But that part was encouraging.
Good deal. We'll have to make sure. I need to reach out to him anyway and talk to him. People have reached out to me. These are future people like I said, we've got this election going on up here, jungle primary. We got 5,500 candidates. Well, guess what? There's only going to be one come out on the other side, and we're going to have to fight the Democrat. And guess what? The rest of those people need to be boots on the ground, need to be joining up with the, with the Georgia Coalition for Vaccine and Choice. We need more boots on the ground. These people should fold right in with Voter Georgia, Paper Please, all of these things that we're doing here. So,
as an outside observer,
yes.
I was just thinking about this. It's stunning how many people ran for Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat. How many people are running for Colton Moore's seat?
We've got three and one Democrat. So.
Right. It's just stunning to me the people that are running.
Yeah, you're right.
For federal office without having made the stop at the state level.
Well, you're 100% right. Now, two of the people that were in the jungle primary have stepped down, and both of those people are primarying state representatives. So that is, to me, it's a win. We should have had more. More of those people should be stepping down, but through this jungle primary, we've got people just coming up. Like, I know 2 or 3 people right now that have just started campaigns. Like, we're running against these people. And it's kind of a beautiful thing. Out of all this craziness, we are getting some seats challenged. So, we'll see.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I know of one very strong medical freedom candidate that's challenging Katie Dempsey, and her name is Christy Minor.
Oh, so, Christy, yeah, she is.
And she's been showing up at your Board of Commissioners meetings.
Yes. We're going to have Christy on the show soon. She's also in JBS, and she's just amazing. I've been talking with her all summer, and when I found out that she was going to run, I was like, dear Jesus, thank you. That was beautiful.
Well, and I'll just put in a plug. I sent a message to Carminthia Moore, and I just said, hey, are you going to run against Sharon Cooper again? You just never know when people are going to retire.
Yeah.
And it's just like, like I said, earlier, I was an Olympic level swimming official, and I didn't want to do it forever. I mean, I'd done it. Yeah. So how long is long enough? I mean, do people really want to be Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, falling down? And it's just like, maybe it's time for a new generation.
Don't even get me started, man. The SAVE Act is one of the most just common sense, like literally you sign it like you're writing a check. Oh, we can't do any of this stuff. Oh, we've got to do filibuster, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to have a dog show. And then why don't we just take Mitch McConnell and roll him around in a wheelchair today? And I'm just like, you can't make this stuff up. We're in clown world. We're in total clown world.
Yeah.
So.
Sometimes being a candidate is just putting your name on the ballot and buying some signs. And the best place to buy signs is in Northwest Georgia anyway.
That's right. There you go. All right, let me finish these up. Good to see you, Denise Penny-Owen. Good to see you, Christina Benjamin. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. Farmstead Forum, I know who you are. It's good to see you out here tonight. Appreciate you. I hope that I can make it to one of their forums in the coming, hopefully, maybe they're going to do one this year. Jan Ellis Weaver, good to see you.
Oh, Jan Weaver, my friend.
Yeah, she's
Jan
great.
Donated to my campaign.
I love Jan Weaver. She says, you are a voice of wisdom. You're absolutely right. Eugenics is alive and well, and people have to wake up to it. Absolutely. Let's see. I'm going to come down on comments just a little bit. Christina says, has anyone been watching the Colin Gray versus Georgia trial this week? So many red flags revealed in the evidence presented that the father and mother knew about, and yet they pushed HB 268 through after Appalachia. Anybody care to comment? Because I have not watched it. I've heard of it. But something that we may need to check out. Colin.
Sounds like a whole new show.
Oh, yeah. Colin Gray versus Georgia. Christina, I'd love to catch up with you soon on that. Christina's going to be with us on a live panel soon as well. Shout out from her to Sandy Marcus. And shout out for Georgia Coalition for Vaccine Choice. Real important, folks.
Sandy Marcus is a hero.
I've got to meet the woman, so. She also put, Christina says, new legislation about voter integrity, SB 568.
Yep. Greg Dolezal dropped that bill.
Gotcha. So, yes, we've got that written down. And she says SB 34 was supposed to be voted on the Senate floor. It was the calendar for that day and cleared the Rules Committee. Then Chuck Hufstetler planned to bring back his original bill to the floor, and the Senate abruptly adjourned without even hearing the bill. So that's what happened today on that one. Let's see. Let me come down. Kathy Dixon, good to see you tonight. And Jan says, thank you. This is packed with incredibly helpful, actionable info, and we will get this info out. Jasper Manus. Jasper Manus has got a long comment, but we're running out of time. And Jasper Manus, I do not know him, but he's one of the guys that I mentioned that has just kind of come up and said, hey, I'm running against one of these state reps. So we're obviously going to meet Jasper Manus, and we're gonna give him a platform, because that's just great to have people standing up. Good to see you, Peyton Lockwood. And so Jasper's, he looks like, so he's talking about PFAS. We don't want to talk too much tonight on
HB 211
Yes.
is the PFAS liability
Yes.
shield.
We have been fighting tooth and nail against it, and they keep bringing it back, but we're not ever going to stop on that. That's another one of those corporate liability shielding. Lisa Adams, good to see you. And Jasper, we'll get to your comments, sir, and we welcome you to run for the state rep position. So,
Let me just, I know we're
Sure.
getting close to the end. I just have a little anecdote.
sure.
HB 211, the PFAS bill, is tied to another issue that we're fighting within this country, and that is illegal immigration. I was at a cocktail party in my neighborhood about a month ago and just stumbled into a conversation with an executive of a major Georgia manufacturer. I won't give any more detail. But in the conversation, Trump came up, and I'm like, my standard answer, well, Trump is complicated or whatever. And, he goes in, in terms of, well, if they would just, let people drive away instead of shooting them, and I'm like, well, if people wouldn't use their weapons as cars, their car is a weapon or whatever. And then, we get into the subject of Georgia manufacturing can't survive without illegal immigration. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, this takes me back about 150 years. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Our economy can't survive without a subclass of human beings,
Yes.
without the same rights, entitled to the same wages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
Same.
are we really? Is that really where we are?
That's when you channel your inner Sherman.
I'm telling you, isn't it crazy? It's absolutely crazy.
And the neighbor
wild.
that introduced us was kind of like holding me back. And it's just like, we have to be real in these conversations.
Yeah.
Do the Georgia corporations own our lives and own the destiny of the next generation?
Yeah.
Are we going to sell the farm?
Man.
I mean, here's the thing: is we want our businesses to do well but why? So that they provide two things: jobs for Georgians and a product that people want.
Yes.
And beyond that, like, it's for the people. It's ultimately for the people. Everything's supposed to be like,
Not for
as
the
you say, pro-human, but it's not.
No, it's anything but. So, and
Yeah.
that's where we're at in life. And
Can we just take away the governor's budget for going to Davos?
oh God, yeah, don't get me started on that. All right, ladies. So here's where we're going to get to the end, and I'm going to give both of you ladies the last word. I just want to tell you guys how thankful I am that people like you are out there fighting it. You are a wealth of knowledge, Julie, and I thank the Heavenly Father that you're down at the Capitol doing what you're doing, and so many others that are trying to keep track of this and hold people accountable. This is what we've always needed. I think we're at a pinnacle in this state. I want to believe that this thumbprint of what a rhino establishment, whatever you want to call it, is being lifted, and maybe we've got a chance to see some real conservative, real principles, real conservatism take back over the state. Right? We'll see. We're teetering, but again, without people like you guys, without being able to have these conversations and say, somebody out there is like, wow, I didn't know there was a bill like that. And they start researching. Next thing you know, they're picking up the phone and calling. This is what it's all about. And so I want to thank both of you guys for being on the show, especially at such short, crazy notice that we went through. And we'll start with you, Amanda. I'm going to give you your last word, and then I'll move over to you, Julie. Okay?
Okay. Well, yeah, Julie is a wealth of knowledge. That's how I know a lot of the bills is from what she posts in the chats. You should have Christina on for sure. She's also a wealth of knowledge and really great. I really think that if the Georgia GOP was a little more serious, I've heard other state parties, maybe it's Alabama, where they email weekly here's the bills, the key bill, or maybe, there's so many. It's probably, you couldn't do it for everyone, but maybe you pull ahead of time, the top issues to people, like election integrity, like, the health and freedom movement and stuff like that. And then you keep track of those bills. Because if you win on those, people are going to get reelected. You're going to grow your support for your party. And so if they would email weekly, it'd make it so much easier. Instead, people like Julie and others are going themselves and finding out, and Garland and others, and spreading the information. But it's really the job of the party should be doing this, and then telling people to call and rallying the troops to call and to bring that public pressure, support, whatever you want to call it. So I think that's an area that the party can really improve. But for now, we're thankful for Julie for doing it, for doing the job of the party.
Yeah.
And she does. I've seen her work the ropes down at the Capitol, and she does a really good job. But thankful for you, Roy, and for Antonio and all the podcasters, our small alternative media that helps give a voice to us when we otherwise wouldn't have a voice.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important, and I think you're doing God's work.
Well, we're certainly going to try, and I appreciate you being on with us, Amanda, as always. And Julie, I'm going to give you the last word.
I'm going to say there are so many. There are so many. I think of Amanda and Lisa and the black shirts.
Famous.
What is it? IDVS Corp, whatever.
DVS Corp 08. Yep.
If you know.
If you know, you know. I think of Sam Carnline and getting Kemp on tape saying that, yeah, you can change votes.
Of course you can hack the machines. Machines can be hacked.
Of course you can hack the machines.
I drive a big truck. Sorry.
I think of everybody that shows up, at the press conferences for Georgians for Truth. I know 2025 has been a blistering year for conservatives in the Republican Party in the state of Georgia. And I'm going to name names. I'm going to say, I supported Josh McCoon going into 2025, following his speech at the Mass Caucus I attended. What I saw at the Fulton County Convention was alarming. I put it on X and he went after me. And since then, we have battled ever since. It is clear to me as an employee of the state of Georgia, who's, the governor oversees that state budget. There's a conflict of interest. He is not representing the delegates. He seems clearly on a mission to destroy the Georgia Republican Party and has done an exceptional job of it. I've seen some things recently about the cash on hand. Could it really be only in the less than $50,000 range that the Georgia Republican Party has on hand?
I saw it
under his leadership. So I supported him in his first election. I believe the 7 mountains. He delivered nothing of those, and so we are challenged. Our answers are not going to come from Donald Trump. Our answers are not going to come from Josh McCoon and the Republican Party. Amanda, as you said, it is we the people and the state legislature and the conversations, again, amenable conversations that we have with our legislators to urge. They're the ones that are there right now. They are accountable to us. How do we encourage them to know what our concerns are and give them the opportunity to give us their best, and encourage them as they face that inner battle against preserving their seat at the table? And the powers that be that say, if you vote this way, we're going to primary you.
Yes.
That's very real. We need to be sympathetic to that. Mm-hmm. So, but who are we? We have all wrestled. We look at the current challenge, with the $140 million Ponzi scheme, the people within the Republican Party that are still affiliated with that, still holding positions unchallenged. Whether you like BKP or not, Voice of Rural America, what was done to him in contrast to the nothingness. What does accountability look like among ourselves, among our own party? Are we selective in what accountability looks like? Mm-hmm. But as for me, Let me just share something that I shared with another legislator recently in terms of my story. And I'll just leave you with this. In 2019, I was a high-level USA swimming official, Olympic track. I was targeted for being the starter at the Tokyo Olympic Games. I was injured. I retired from sport, working in education and in school finance. So I was on a different path. Everything went away. 2020 happened. Let me give you some scripture in terms of how I was shaped. 1 Samuel 3:10, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. So calling begins with a willing heart. Judges 4:9, I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, the road which you are going will not lead to your glory, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. So when God declares the moment, obedience means stepping forward. If you don't respond to the call, he'll raise somebody else up. But like, who else is doing with what Jason Frazier is doing right now? If he weren't doing it, where would we be? You know, Esther 4:14, continue along the same things. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Purpose is often revealed in crisis. Courage answers when the cost is high. To be used of God, the story of the prophets, they didn't have an easy life. Being a prophet made them subject to harassment and martyrdom. So Samuel teaches us to listen. Deborah and Barak teach us to act. Esther teaches us to stand. God calls, we respond. What a privilege it is to do life with so many that I've met over the past 5 years. God ordains the path, and every day is a divine appointment. How will we respond? Thank you, Roy.
That was awesome.
Gave me chill bumps.
Hold on.
To God be the glory, and his is the glory alone. I was born a Lutheran, baptized as an infant, and Martin Luther runs through my veins. You know, if we in our, a mighty fortress is our God. If we in our own strength confide, our striving would be losing.
You're going to choke me up here.
Even so, Lord Jesus, quickly come. But in the meantime, we are called to safeguard the next generation. What will you do tomorrow? Will you pick up the phone? Will you show up?
Man, that's heavy. I hope that we've got, it certainly convicts me. I want to pick up the phone right now. And I just want to call. I know we've got people out there that's going to listen to this, and what an absolute blessing.
And absolutely not everybody, bless Field and Sam for driving for, it Grady County Boys, Florida line, and they drive.
I didn't say something, all right?
Not everybody can do that.
I gotta
but
say
you
something.
Can pray.
Look.
And I was on my knees this week, after I went to the Capitol on Monday and was like so downtrodden. Like, I am never going back to Sodom and Gomorrah. I just leave it in the rearview mirror. And I'm like, I'm done, Lord. I'm done. You have got to do this. I cannot. And then I get a text message from Sandy Marcus. Did you see that Williams' new bill? Right there was the, HB or SB 846, the bill he didn't have the courage to drop. And I'll just say, he drafted the Medical Freedom Act. I saw it. He could not get a signer. Greg Dolezal wouldn't sign it. So that Medical Freedom Act could be in the Senate. It's not. Our senators I have begged. Been in the majority leader's office, begged, drop the Senate version, because in the health committee under Sharon Cooper, it's not going anywhere in the House. Arizona got it through the House yesterday. So now they've got to be creative and figure out in the horse trading.
Right.
What is more important to us than the next generation, that they should not be mandated to take experimental, or again, let's attack physician incentive payments. Our children are not for sale, but yet they're getting kicked out of pediatric practices for not taking vaccines that haven't been properly tested. None of them have been tested against placebos. I could talk for hours.
I know.
And I'm not, you want a guest, you want Dr. Peter McCullough, you want Aaron Seary, you want these people, we can get them here to the Senate in Georgia. I've told them, I've promised, I've got people in my cell phone that will testify for us. We have resources. but they will not open the doors to the truth so that the truth can be proclaimed. They will not even let the bills come into the committee so that we can have the people testify as to what the truth, so that the truth cannot be denied. Man. But on my knees, God answered, because as Rick Williams had the courage after the resolution, he dropped the bill, the medical examiner bill that I had seen previously. And I was surprised when he dropped the resolution because I had seen the bill. And I'm like, okay, he backed off the bill. Doesn't believe we can get it through both houses and the governor to sign it. Must have gotten a good response. There were lots of calls. I had put things out on social media, Sandy Marcus, others. So must have been a good response to the resolution because he dropped the bill for the medical examiner's bill. It's a parallel bill to SB 188 in Florida that I've been pushing for all along. But what all Georgians need, in addition to the truth, is the freedom to decide for ourselves. Let the mothers decide, because there are adverse events. And yes, your kid might be fine, but they know that a certain percentage, the immune systems are not going to tolerate it. And that is not the America that I believe in, that will sacrifice a few for the good of all. That's communism.
Our military says leave no one behind.
Leave no one behind.
They will volunteer, and the ones who are safe will sacrifice themselves to go back for the one.
That's right. Man.
But that's the choice. No, everyone should have informed consent, and we should have access to the data. That we have to beg for these bills and that they won't, it's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
Why should I even have to go back to the Capitol one more day?
Yes, I agree.
And yet they look at me and they're like, are you going to be here tomorrow? Like, can we have this? It's inconvenient for me to have this conversation. And it's like, no, I am not going to be there tomorrow. Why did I even have to be there today?
Well, and I'd certainly like to plan with you guys in the future, on certain days that we can get more people down there that can be down there to back you up and to be support. We want to try to do that through this session. So
I'll just put out a plug. Look up on the internet, Operation Echo.
That's right. That's right. I sat through
I'll just put that word out there because that is a group that is mobilizing to do just that, to get people to the Capitol and to train them how to be there. I won't say anything more than that, but people can find it if they do a search.
That's right. Operation Echo. Agree with that. All right, ladies. Look, it's been a blast. I know we could probably do another couple hours. I'd love to have you back. I know that you'll have to be on War Room with Antonio, Julie. Trust me, it's going to be great. Amanda, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And like I said, you guys are what make it worth doing all of this, because, these are the conversations that we need to have. This is what people need to get into. And I feel like we're just bringing more and more into the fold. But thank y'all for everything you're doing. And Julie, we're going to get more people involved in, the Georgia Coalition for Vaccine of Choice. We're going to get more people involved and coming down and making sure that we get calls and emails on all these bills. And thank y'all for everything you do. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. That's it. That's it for the Friday night show. You guys, hey, stay cool out there. If you have any questions about these bills, I've got them all wrote down. I'm going to be putting out some more stuff. You're going to get tired of seeing the bills come through. As we go to crossover, we're going to have more people that are going to be talking about bills coming up. I know we will have Greg Dozal coming up to give us a big, his view on where things are going as we talk to more. So we're out. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you later.
The legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.